So Bezrat Hashem, this end of the week we're going to celebrate the holiday of Shavuot. And we have a custom that we read on Shavuot the Megilat of Ruth. Many people want to know why you read specifically that Megilah. From all the Megillot that we have, from all the parts of the Tanakh that we have, we choose to read Megilat Ruth. Now there's a lot more to say on it. Bezrat Hashem, today we'll just learn something small from the teachings of Levi Yitzchak from Bardichov, found in the book Kedushat Levi Yitzchak. And he's going to explain, he has many explanations, but one of the reasons why we read the Megilat Ruth on Shavuot. He says, it says in the Holy Zohar, Mevuar Bazohar HaKadosh, on the verse, Hashem misinai ba, vezarach miseir la'amo. Hashem rose or came from Sinai. He came from Sinai and rose from a place called Seir. This is a verse in the Torah. The Zohar explains, Sheba el Esav shekabel HaTorah. Kadosh Baruch Hu came to Esav and told him, do you want the Torah? Velo ratza. Esav said, no, that's not for me. V'amar sheyitnu l'Yisrael. Esav said, give it to Israel, leave me alone. והודה גם כן על הבכורה, שהוא של יעקב. Not only that, I mean, there's two ways of looking at it. One way that Esav brushed off and says, give it to Israel, I don't want it. Another way of explaining it, that he understood that Yaakov is the Bechor, and he says, listen, he's the older one, he's the real Bechor, he should get it, give it to the nation of Israel. ואמר שיתנו לישראל, and he confessed, והודה, he admitted, גם כן על הבכורה של יעקב, that Yaakov is the Bechor, he's the firstborn. ונתן מתנה לישראל, he gave a present to the nation of Israel, בכדי שיקבלו את התורה, and he gave them a present in order for them to receive the Torah. So Esav actually gave up the honor, and he says, listen, I'm not worthy, I'm the second one, I'm second in line, Yaakov is greater than me, give the Torah to Yaakov.
It wasn't the original midrash though, they asked what's in it, don't steal.
That's a joke. No, there is the midrash, but there's the joke that Hashem came to all the nations, don't steal, it's not for us.
I thought it was, to Esav, don't murder, to Yishmael, don't rape.
Yeah. So we're Jews, we made a joke out of everything. So you know the joke, or we don't have to repeat it?
How many apples?
No, the joke is that the Kadosh Baruch Hu came to all the nations. And he came to the Ishmaelim, and he told them, do you want the 10 Commandments? He says, what does it say there? You cannot kill. Not kill? No, that's not for us. Take it somewhere else. So he came to Esav. Do you want the 10 Commandments? What does it say there? He says, it says there you should not commit adultery. Not commit adultery? No. Take it somewhere else. And he went to, we're not going to start naming names of nations, to get another nation. What it says it, don't steal. No, that's not for us. So finally he came to the Jews and he says, do you want the 10 Commandments? So he says, how much is it? No, it's for free. Okay, we'll take 2. So nevertheless, then first the Kadosh Baruch Hu, this is what the Zohar explains, the Kadosh Baruch Hu went to Esav gave it over, and not only that he gave over the Zchut, he also gave the nation of Israel a present so they can receive the Torah. V'chen Ishmael, the same thing with Ishmael. לא רצה לקבל, Ishmael also didn't want to get it. What did he say? ואמר, שיתנו לישראל, give it to the nation of Israel. והודה שהוא אינו זרע אברהם. And Ishmael said, listen, I'm not really the zera of Avraham. The real zera of Avraham is Yitzchak, not me. I came from Hagar. Even though Avraham is my father, I'm not the zera Avraham or the Kadosh Baruch Hu is talking about. רק Yitzchak hu zera Avraham. Yitzchak is the only one that is the real zera of Avraham, the offspring of Avraham. וגם אמר שייתן מתנה לישראל. He also gave a present to the nation of Israel that they should receive the Torah. And in order to get more information, he sends you there, Ayen Sham Bazohar HaKadosh. Go there to the Zohar HaKadosh. יש בחדר עוד... יש אחד פה ויש בחדר כמה. ראית? תודה רבה. So he gives a reference, go to the Zohar where you can find it. There he brings his reference from. וזהו הטעם בגמרא, and this is where the reason why it says in the Talmud, באו האומות אצל בלעם. Came the nations to Bilam, we're going to read it very soon. Comes this little nation that go out of Mitzrayim and they come out with the force of God. And they come and destroy Og. You know what it means to destroy Og? It's like destroying now like the IDF will go to war with the Russian army and eat them alive in 2 days. That's the same ratio. Can you imagine the world seeing something like that? Whoa! This little army took such a huge army out. So they destroy Og Melech HaBashan. And then they continue and destroy nation after nation. The remainings were like, wait a minute, what's going to happen with us? So they go to Bilam. And the Gemara explains, the nations went to Bilam, and they says, what did Bilam say? Hashem oz la'amo yiten. Hashem gives might and power to his nation. Patchu kulam ve'amru, all of them opened their mouth and they said, Hashem mevarech et amo b'shalom. Bilam said himself, Hashem oz la'amo yiten, and everybody answered, Hashem mevarech et amo b'shalom. Hashem will bless his nation with peace. Now what does that mean? היינו, כיוון ששמעו שישראל מקבלים התורה, since everybody heard that the nation of Israel is getting the Torah, what do you think? Even though they didn't have Facebook and WhatsApp, you think the nations didn't know what's going on? The nations saw how we're going out of Mitzrayim. First of all, they didn't have CNN and Fox, but there were reporters going to Mitzrayim and taking reports and saying, what's going on here? So, and going back and reporting, listen, something's happening in that land. Everybody knew Mitzrayim because everybody went to buy their food. And everybody knew Mitzrayim, it's like a New York, it was like an oasis. So everybody said, listen, well, something's going on here. The God of Israel is turning the place upside down. And everybody knew exactly what's going on. They didn't need Facebook and FaceTime and all that stuff. Everybody knew. And then, what do you think? There wasn't a rumor? Wow, now they're going to Har Sinai. They're going to, first of all, they went into war with Amalek. Then they're going into Har Sinai to get the Torah. Wow, what's going to happen? It's a big event. Everybody heard that the nation of Israel is about to receive the Torah. ושוב לא יחזיר הקדוש ברוך הוא להם שיקבלו. And everybody knew that the Kadosh Baruch Hu is determined. We are getting the Torah. That's it. No return. ופתחו, and everybody opened their mouth. When they saw this is the divine decision, everybody, meaning all the nations, said, Hashem mevarech et amo b'shalom. Let Hashem bless his nation with peace. כלומר, יקבלו בשלום. Meaning that they received the Torah in peace. Saying, in other words, the nations were for us getting the Torah. The nations knew, this is the chosen people. Then let them get the Torah in peace, because it will affect us anyways. Us, the nations, were saying. והנה צריך להבין, מה זה המתנות שנתנו האומות לישראל, בכדי שיקבלו התורה? What are these presents that the nations gave the nation of Israel in order for them to receive the Torah? המתנות הוא הנשמות אשר היו חבושים ביניהם. The presents were the souls that were prisoners of the nations of Israel within them, within the nations. זה הנשמות הקדושות שהיו חבושים בהם, החזירו. All the souls that were not prisoners in a prison, rather the souls of the converts. All the souls that were trapped between the nations, there are souls, they are part of our nation. And they were trapped between the nations. The presents that they gave back is those souls. Here, take your souls back. They belong to you. You know, our sages say, why did we go into exile? Only to gather the nation, the souls of the converts. That's why we went into exile. If we weren't in exile, if we would go into Eretz Israel right after the desert, how would we pick up all the converts? How are we going to go there? What, are we going to go on vacations to all over the world? So we had to go physically to be all over the world, so the souls of the converts can wake up and come back, be attached to their source. So what are these presents that the Zohar is talking about? These are the souls of the converts. They were scattered all over the nations. And the nation says, listen, it's not our souls. Here, you got to take it back. And once they gave it back, now it gave the opportunity for all the converts to convert. שהתגיירו. זהו המתנות שנתנו האומות לישראל. This is the present that all the nations gave to the nation of Israel. They gave him back their souls. And who was one of them? Ruth. Ruth HaMoaviyah. Ruth, Mashiach comes from Ruth, by the way. So Ruth was a great soul, and she was one of them. Ruth הייתה בה נשמה גדולה שממנה בא משיח. Ruth is a very, very high level soul. Mashiach is coming from Ruth. וזהו הנשמה. נתנו האומות לישראל בכדי שיכבדו את התורה. She was one of the souls that the nations gave back so we can receive the Torah. וכן שאר נשמות קדושות. In the same way, not only Ruth, all the rest of those holy souls of the converts. אבל העיקר נשמת רות שממנה במשיח. But specifically her soul, because her soul Mashiach comes from. Just goes to show you where Mashiach comes from. Mashiach comes from a forbidden relation of a father and a daughter, and comes from a Rasha, from Lot. This is the root of Mashiach. Mashiach comes from Olam HaTohu. So look, if you track it all the way back, it comes from Lot, from the Zerah of Lot, and from relations from a father and a daughter. Whether he was drunk or not, that's irrelevant. Some say he wasn't even drunk. He just joined the party. Hey, why not? The world is over. Yeah, the world is over. Who knows? So nobody watching. There's nobody here to testify. So nevertheless,
there was from the father and of my father or something was the two sons.
That's the second one.
Yeah.
No, Moab was the other.
Well, one of them is Moab, and you're asking for me what nations?
There
Ammon.
were two sisters, and a child came from each union, and one was like, okay, yes. So my father might be my son's father. He said, yep, this is from my father.
Yeah.
And that one nation was.
That's Moab.
It was yes, because one was like and the other one was
Ammon.
and Ammon was the one like okay, oops.
Yeah, oops.
So it was the one where it's
Oops, I did it again. Moab was Moab. My father. Moab is the first one.
But the second one though was more blatant. Is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
The first one he wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, when you track back the soul of Mashiach, comes from Lot, from a forbidden relation, comes from Moab through the nation to Ruth, and Ruth is the great grandmother of David HaMelech. So look where Mashiach is coming from. So specifically, the presents that the nations were giving back to the nation of Israel in order to receive the Torah, they didn't give them Rolls Royces and money. They gave them back the souls that were trapped within them. And these are the souls of the converts. And especially the high-level soul of Ruth, because Ruth, Mashiach comes from her. And therefore, לכן קוראים רות בשבועות לרמוז על הנזכר לעיל. That's why we read the Megilat of Ruth to remind us and to hint of this whole scenario, about this whole story. שנשמתה יצאה משביה מבין האומות, because her soul was stuck, trapped in the nation, specifically in the nation of Moab, and she was released. She was, so to say, was released from her captivity and given back to the nation of Israel. And how did that happen? Al yedei Matan Torah, because the power of Matan Torah. Matan Torah was, so to say, the stamp where the Kadosh Baruch Hu didn't go to all the nations and told them, I'm about to give the Torah. Do you want it? Now, put the joke aside. All the nations refused. Whether they refused because they were mocking it or didn't think they're worthy, that's also irrelevant. But nevertheless, the Kadosh Baruch Hu didn't want anybody to have any type of lawsuit. So he went to all the nations and says, this is the Torah. So nevertheless, the nations, you can look at it in a more positive way. The nation says, listen, who are we to get the Torah? We're not even connected to Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. That nation has to get the Torah. Who are we fooling? You think we're going to fool you? You think we can trick the master of the universe? That nation, that's who the Torah belongs to. So, Bechlal, this is another time we're going to talk about it, because many people don't understand, don't know, and don't realize when the Torah was given on a mountain, on Har Sinai. Har Sinai is a circle mountain. Approximately 3 million people were standing around the mountain, the nation of the Jews. The miracle was that the ones that were standing in this side of the ring they saw exactly what the ones on the other side of the ring see. That was the miraculous sight, that they were all around and everybody had a perfect view. But around the ring of the nations of the Jews was another ring, and that was the rest of the nations of the world. Everybody was there. We happened to be that we were in the front line. And this is a Gemara Meforeshet. This is coming from the Talmud. It's not that somebody invented that. Nevertheless, the one thing that we're missing for the last 3,400 years, that right after we go to Torah, open Parashat Yitro, and you'll see what it says. V'haytim lemamlechet kohanim v'goy kadosh. You should be a light to the nations. I will make you a nations of priests and a holy nation, and you should be a light to the rest of the nations. Now take this Torah, learn it, read it, and then give it over to the rest of the world. The only one who actually did it was Shlomo HaMelech. This is the only one who actually applied this method of that we have to be a light to the nations. The fact that we took the Torah and held it the whole time, no wonder everybody hates us and they're going and making their own religions. It's like a 3-year-old. Now, I have a boy like that. When guests come, he doesn't share his toys. He takes his toys and he's like, no, you can't play with my toys. So that's what we did 3,400 years ago. You can't take my toy. This is my toy. It's my Torah. Don't touch it. So after a while, the nations are like, okay, I'm done with you. I'm fed up with you. I'm going to make up my own Torah. I'll make up my own Torah. I'll make up my own faith. And you go get lost. And needless to say, what hate it brought, and what people complain all day long on anti-Semitism, we are the fault for anti-Semitism. But nevertheless, we're missing the point here. Judaism is missing the point, and nobody has the courage to come up and stand up and say, hey, listen, we messed up. No wonder the nations, they're not so happy with us, because we're supposed to inspire them and to teach them and to guide them and to be a light to the nations. And when we're not, then the nation's like, you're failing your job. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. So nevertheless, now in Chag Shavuot, in the holiday of Shavuot, we read the Megilat of Ruth. We're going to explain in the next couple of days. There's many other beautiful interpretations and explanations why we read the Megilat of Ruth. But now we got a little taste of it, because specifically what happened in that moment, in those 7 weeks, now we're seeing things are going on in the world. Different negotiation, embassies moving to Jerusalem, the nuclear deals being now shaken and reevaluated. What do you think happened in the 7 weeks from crossing the sea till the mountain? We kept busy with counting. Well, don't you think there was different committees in the world? What's going on with this nation? They're changing now the face of the earth. They destroyed Mitzrayim. Can you imagine what it means to destroying Mitzrayim? It's like a little nation will go now and destroy America. The same equivalent.
And no slave put in Egypt.
Yeah? So nevertheless, the whole world was shaken. What's going on here? So same thing now, before Mashiach is coming. But going back to looking in history, everybody was going, what's going on here? So the decision of the nations we're not opposing the Jews getting the Torah. On the contrary, we are for it. Where if they would make a vote, we want them to get the Torah, and here we're giving them presents. Here, take all your souls, because you're going to need them. They're part of your nations. You're looking for them. That's why you came down here. So, ירדנו למצרים במתי מעט. We went to Mitzrayim, 70 souls. So we went to look to get all the souls out of the klippah. So we have to understand that one of the major parts, the pieces that we're missing to bring the redemption, is we need to get the rest of the converts to finish already. That's why you see that some Batei Dinim are getting their common sense now and they convert on the spot. They don't wait 10 years. This is not the right way. And great rabbis and great leaders of our generation already now say, listen, you see the convert, you see it's the real deal? Finish with it. Don't schlep it, don't drag it. Finish with it. Do your analogy, see it's the real deal. Once you see the person is for real, convert the person right away. We need all the converts. We need to finish with it. And needless to say, we're still missing probably a couple thousands or maybe even more, tens of thousands, souls that need to be converted, because we need them part of the nation. And needless to say, how we need the rest of the nation on board too. We're trying to arouse the Jews to do tshuva, to hasten the Geulah. I mean, not that I'm chas v'shalom saying this is not good. Go and arouse 100 million and Gentiles now to do tshuva. Mashiach will come here like that. We need the Gentiles too. So, nevertheless, we have a lot more to do. and we have the power specifically now in Chag Shavuot, because a holiday is a repetition of a certain power that comes to the world. So we have this power to enlighten the world, to, again, for the nations to come and support us. Yes, do your thing. Do what you need to do so you can get the Torah. Because at the end of the day, the nations benefit from it just as much as we do. When Mashiach is going to come very soon, you think the nations are not going to come and offer sacrifices? When Shlomo HaMelech was king, there was peace in the world. That's why his name is Shlomo, from the word shalom. 70 years, the only time in the history of mankind that there was peace in the world. Because Shlomo HaMelech was brought peace to the world. The nations came and they took part. So we should merit to see this very soon, but we should also act accordingly. So we have to make sure that we are arousing this awareness, inspiring, and getting these souls back to their space, back to their spot. And needless to say how important it is that we do Kiddush Hashem to the nations of the world. Because you never know, some people don't understand what it means to do Kiddush Hashem. You know how many converts, their spark gets started because they see a community, a Jewish community, or they see a Jewish family, or something has to inspire them. So that's how important is the Kiddush Hashem. If I behave the opposite, Chilul Hashem, and I shoot a person off because he's a Gentile, I'm doing the worst sin in the Torah. It's Chilul Hashem. But when I inspire, and I go and I show how beautiful the Torah is, first of all, what a Kiddush Hashem I'm doing here. Second of all, maybe that person is a potential convert. I lived in New York. I once went to a observant neighborhood where I was walking in the street, and one guy, a store owner, that looked like me with a long beard and peot and the whole thing, and he was mopping his water out of his store, and then he swooshed like the water out, and a man passed by and he went through all over him. The guy's like, "What are you doing?" You would think they would say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I didn't even notice, I apologize, here's a towel," whatever. He went to him like this, goy. And I'm seeing all this, I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, a goy. What do you mean a goy? He's a human being. And even if he is a Gentile, so that gives you permission to spritz your water on him? What kind of a behavior is that? You're making me look like an idiot. Now because of your behavior, I look bad. Needless to say how bad you make Hashem look. And he kept saying, goy. I said, how do you know he's a goy? How do you know you are not a Jew, not a goy? Who said you are a Jew? Because you have a beard. How do you know you're better than him? And who says he's not a Jew? Well, because he has a Spanish complexion. He looked like from a Spanish descent. He says, and besides that, how do you know? Maybe this person is a convert. Is a potential convert. Maybe he has a neshama that needs to convert, and now you're behaving like an animal. Why would he come? Why would he want to come? What a turn off!
One of the lost descendants from Spain.
Yeah.
So you said what? Like what? 1 out of every 5 South Americans might be.
No, I said that every 1 out of 5 Spaniards in Spain is Jewish.
In
Spain, not in South America. 1 out of 5 Spaniards in Spain is Jewish. Talking about 7-8 million Jews that don't even know they're Jewish in Spain.
How many in
Latin America? Because they
that's why I said once that people say that we think that we're about 15 to 18 million Jews. I think we're 100 million Jews like that, with no question even. Yeah? Forget about the lost tribes right now. I'm just talking about the ones who got somehow assimilated and generations pass by and they don't even know the Jewish. I believe that we're easily 100 million Jews now. As we're speaking, I'm not talking about converts right now. I'm talking about Jews that got somehow lost in assimilation. Yeah? So nevertheless, this is a big link, a big piece that we're missing in the redemption, and we don't put enough emphasis into that. Nobody's putting enough education to the topic. And nobody's putting any importance to that, but we need the nations. The nations are part of the redemption. If we're not going to have the nations here, how are we going to have the redemption? People think that the redemption is going to come and 7 billion people are just going to evaporate into space. It doesn't work like that. So needless to say, now comes the holiday of Matan Torah, and we have here a source from the Zohar giving us some proof and some information, and this was brought by Rabbi from Berdichov, that the nations came and says, yes, here, take the souls, take the present. We want you to receive the Torah. Do with it what you're supposed to do. So we can't take the Torah and abuse it. We have to take the Torah and give it over. And needless to say that now in the holiday of Shavuot is the time when we can again arouse this power. And if we do our part as a nation, you'll see that the nations will come forward and say, what do you need for help? We'll help you. We know it's good for us too. Just tell us what to do. Just first of all, behave like human beings. Don't behave like animals. Then guide us. Tell us what you need us to do. We will help you. But nevertheless, and you see that it's slowly, a little bit moving. That the nations are saying, listen, we're not here to fight you. We're here to work together. So this is one out of many explanations why we read Megilat Ruth. We have to remember where our sources, we have to remember where our leader is coming from. Soon Mashiach is going to come. We're all going to look up to Mashiach. And look where he came from. He came from the depth of the Klippa, from the worst place of the universe. But nevertheless, that's where he comes from. You know, when a beautiful flower, it blossoms, but before it blossomed, it was a little seed that got rotten and completely destroyed, and then from that came a beautiful flower. And B'ezrat Hashem, we should merit, first of all, to gather all the souls of our nation from within the nations. We should gather all together in one place, and bring us all from all four corners of the world to the land of Eretz Israel. And B'ezrat Hashem, we should see with our own eyes the coming of Mashiach, so can we see the fruits of our hard labor from the last 3,400 years.